What's up, everybody? Canes, I see you're the first guy in the chat. What else is new? It's expected of you. Turn the momentum. I need context for that. What's up, Coog? What's up, man? Yo, White House, what's up, man? Yeah, you showed up early today. All right, let's see here. I have to text Dusty and tell him we're live, or else he'll complain. I'm gonna wait to let some other people join, but we got a good amount of stuff to talk about today. I mean, there's I think the Jake Mangum story, making his debut, and he's got 7 hits and 11 at bats. I want to talk about that. We're going to talk about it. You hear about Jackson Merrill's extension? Yeah, I saw it. Very team friendly. But again, it's like the thing is this, and I can tell you guys, I've played with guys whose agents told them to turn down extensions, told them, they had a good year or two in the big leagues and we're looking like, they're going to be in the big leagues forever. And then they start to not be very good. And like I played with one guy in particular who turned down like a $40 million, I think like 6-year deal, right? So it's very team friendly. And he wasn't like he wasn't Jackson Merrill, all right? But he was a solid, above average major league player and was young. And so a team tried to lock him down for $40 million or whatever it was for like 6 years. And he got nothing like that, man. Like he didn't even make, I mean, he might have made and again, it's not a little, but like he maybe made $1 million in his career total, like before taxes. And he could have been set for life. So I hate it when a lot of these players get like the Players Association does not like it when players sign deals like that because it feels like it hurts just players overall and how much money they can make. But again, like how do you turn down over $100 million? That's guaranteed. Like, your family's, your grandchildren, if it's handled well, like your family is taken care of instantly as soon as you sign that paper. So I think, awesome getting the deal done by the Padres, right? A great job getting the deal done. Merrill, and again, it's risky. Like this is the other thing. Like it's a risky move by the Padres because Merrill's 21 and he's, he was a rookie. He was a rookie last year. So like he could turn out to just be okay. Right. And some of these deals go south, right? Sometimes a guy like that second and third year, again, is really big because, like, the league knows about you. They start pitching you different. Can you adjust and stuff like that? And I think he's going to be fine. Like, I think he's a professional hitter. He's not like a big swing and miss guy. Um, but I think it's a good deal by the Padres, and it's a great deal for Merrill. Like how he potentially increases to 204 million, 135 million guaranteed. Like me and my wife talk all the time. It's like if they sign me, if they, if you had a great year and they were like, "Hey, we're going to sign you to an 8-year deal for 15 million," I'd be like, "Where do I sign?" That's how realistic I am because I grew up, with my dad being in the front office. So I know that most of the guys that you think are going to be good end up not being like big time guys. It's just how it works. There's a lot of rookies that have a great rookie year and then they fall off. So I don't know how anyone, I don't know how anyone trashes players for taking these like team friendly deals, and the people that do just really have no idea what they're talking about. His mom, dad, girlfriend, and family, yeah, set for life, 100%. Coog played with Alan Craig in the minors, and he signed a pretty good contract. Then kind of fell off after that. Coog, did you play in the minors? Why am I just hearing this? Then you're a little bit older than me if you played with Alan Craig. But yeah, I mean, there's plenty of guys who sign deals and they just like a vet. Like the thing is, like anybody, generally speaking, can have like one big year. Like the test of time in baseball is like, is it consistent year by year, right? So the team is also taking a risk. I feel like a lot of times people are like, man, the team's taking advantage of him. It's like, dude, they're taking a risk. He's got like a year of big league numbers. It's not like you're signing a dude that's been playing for 8 years and he's, been pretty consistent over 8 years. Ultra Runner 83 GT. I love your name. Pitching info last night was awesome. Now I just need to get my kid to watch a video that's longer than 20 seconds. Yeah, that's the brain rot, TikTok brain type stuff, Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming you're talking about like the tipping stuff and everything. And again, that's like one of my skills as a coach. And but I love talking about it because it's just something that never gets talked about. Like you don't see anybody talk about it. And again, it's just, okay, that was scary for a second. All right. So I want to talk about Jake Mangum now, guys. Like I know most of you guys know who Jake Mangum is. He's like the SEC career hit leader, great career, very similar type player to me, like high hit rate, a lot of hits, and he went back for his senior year. I think potentially because he wasn't necessarily as much of a speed guy. So I think teams didn't view him as like a center fielder. And so if you're, let's say, even if you're a really good hitter, if you aren't viewed as a center fielder, it hurts your draft stock pretty immensely because like you're going to be competing against dudes that are hitting 20 and 30 home runs in the big leagues. And if you're not a power guy, it's like, it's especially in this era, it's hard for you to, in an analytics way of saying it, like outvalue a guy that hits 30 bombs or whatever. And so he was drafted, I think maybe, I don't know which, 4th round, as a senior. So again, like you don't look as much at the round. It's more about like what his signing bonus was. We can look that up. He signed with the Mets for $20,000. So 4th round pick slot is probably something like, in 2019 is probably like 400, something like that, signed for 20 grand. So he was signed there because, obviously they liked him, but you're saving a bunch of money to spend on other picks. And that was the Mets who drafted him. Now he's gotten to the big leagues and he's got 7 hits and 11 at bats. And I can tell you guys, because if you go to his baseball reference page, I can tell you the whole shebang right now, because I mean, this is exactly what happened to me. Albeit, it's a little bit different just because the COVID year and, guys losing like basically a full year of experience in the game and stuff like that. Like that is a difference. But if we look at Jake Mangum's minor league numbers, okay, and we'll pull this up. This is probably gonna be tough for you guys to see. I'll zoom it in here. Okay, so in the minors, in 1,800 plate appearances. Now, I had 1,800 plate appearances in AAA by the time I was Mangum's age. All right, so I don't know if he had some injuries, because if you look at some of these games played, like 75 games in 21, he played 84 games total in 2021. That's like half a year. In 2022, he played 72 games. And then finally in, 2023, he played 119, which is still like not a, he's getting a day off like every 4 games or every 5 games. And then in 24, he played 104 games. So he does not have a whole lot of minor league at bats, but what he's done in the minor leagues, let's look at at the different levels. And some of the, again, like an A ball, low A, he hit 247, which that's strange. Because I felt like low A was like taking candy from a baby as a hitter. It's just like you knew what you were getting pitched, what you were getting thrown every at bat, every pitch. In Double A, he hit 287. So in Double A, he's in Binghamton, okay, which is probably the best league in Double A to hit. Right, that used to be the Eastern League. I don't know if it's called that now. I think it still is, EL. And Texas League was second best. Southern League, where I played, was the most difficult league to hit in basically professional baseball. And all right, so he hits 287 in Double A, and remember this, guys. This is all after they changed it to where in the minor leagues now, at least in the upper minors, they're using the big league ball. So what that means is that all these home run numbers are basically double what they would have been when I played at all levels. So, in a full season, he hit 9 home runs. He probably hits like 4 with the old minor league ball and wood. So all these numbers are going to be slightly elevated than what they would have been like 10 years ago, because they're all using the in Double A and Triple A, they're using the big league ball. All right, so in Triple A, he's done the best. He's had the best part of his career has been in Triple A. He's got basically almost 2 full seasons in Double A or Triple A, 1,000 at bats. Again, I had 1,800 plate appearances basically in AAA. That's how many he has total. But 310 average, 353. One thing I will say about Mangum is he does not walk a lot. Like his walk rate is very low. So you're talking, in 1,800 plate appearances. If he's a 10% walk rate guy, he should be walking, or again, about like 190 to 200. Basically, he's going to have to be at 200 walks to be a 10% walk rate guy. So he's way below that. He's like a 5% walk rate guy, which is tough because especially if you're a really good hitter, but you don't have a lot of power. Like one of the things a lot of these teams look for is on base. You better have a good on base percentage, a good walk rate. And his is really low. Slugging percentage 424, which is solid. Again, that's higher than my slugging percentage was in my career, but again, it's a different environment now in the minor leagues, especially in the upper minors. The upper minors now, it's like you're hitting with a cue ball, you're hitting with Pro V1s up there, and okay, so he makes his debut in the big leagues at 29 years old. All right, now the weird thing is this. The weird thing is that you see these years where he's like 25 in high A and Like when I was 23 years old, I was in double A. And then at 24, I was in triple A. Right. So he took in 2020, he missed. Okay, that's fine. 25, he's high A, double A. 26, he makes it to triple A, albeit 30 games. 27, triple A, 28, triple A. The weird thing is, like, especially with this performance in low A here, as a senior sign, like this right here in 2019 as a senior sign, and you hit 247 with a 297 slugging, that's crazy. That's the type of stuff that gets you released. But they stuck with him. Last two streams were awesome. Thanks, Kat. Appreciate it. Canes, how familiar are you with Drew Jones? He went to the high school you are coaching at. I was going over the 2022 class and saw he went first round, but he's only an A ball. It's been 3 years since his draft. Yeah, I mean, I think he's struggling big time, right? And I think he, like, a lot of swing and miss. Again, right? It's tough it's a tough transition to pro ball. Like, it's a massive jump. His stats are terrible. Are those kids that should have went to college, or did they get enough money to justify it? No, he got enough money to justify it. I think he got 5 or 6 million, maybe even more. So, I mean, you can't turn that down out of high school. I mean, that's life-changing money. And again, this is the other thing is this, he might have gone to college and just not even played as well. And so then all of a sudden he's not getting drafted, or he's getting drafted, but it's much later. He's not getting a lot of money. So he should have took the money. That's what he should have done. But he's gonna miss out on the college experience, which sucks. But he got a lot of money. But so this is a guy, Jake Mangum, if we can get back to it, that the analytics people do not like this kind of guy. And I'll show you why here. All right, so this is, the Baseball Savant MLB. And we're going to look at, like, the analytics side and kind of what I'll tell you what exactly an analytics people will think, or analytics type people will think. All right, so right now his sprint speed, 27th percentile, which is strange for an outfielder. And again, he's only been up there a little bit, but still, sprint speed's pretty low. Bat speed, 5th percentile. Squared up percentage, 37th percentile. Some of these also are he's only been up there a little bit. So, and some of these all obviously are, not going to be totally filled out. Now, his average launch angle right now is negative 4.9, which again, it's 12 at bats. So it's, that will change. But here's the thing that kind of really, it bothers me in a way, is that this is the type, he's very similar type of player as I was, guy who hits, more ground balls than the analytics guys would like, but knows how to hit, really good hitter, really good at bats, finds a way to get hits. Usually the analytics teams hate these guys. They don't like them. They don't think they're worth anything. They think he's bad. Now, so far, right, he's killing it offensively. 3 stolen bases, 7 hits and 11 at bats. He's got 2 doubles, 3 runs scored. He's seen 49 pitches in 49 pitches. I think he's seeing something like, where is it? He's over 4 pitches per plate appearance. So he sees a lot of pitches. He has professional at bats. But again, it's like, this is a guy that hits the ball on the ground a lot. He doesn't run very well, which is surprising. And again, this is early, but like, this is the type of guy an analytics guy goes, oh, he's an empty average hitter. He hits for an empty average. He doesn't hit for power. He can't run. He doesn't provide defensive value, which I'm just making this up. But that's basically what was said about me, even though I was an elite runner and a very good defender. And I hit for average at every level. But basically what I know from, the guys that were in the organization that were kind of close with me and allies of me was that basically the analytics guys thought I was terrible and I was not worth giving a shot. David Stearns and the New York Mets. And I mean, listen, I know a lot of stuff about what's going on in there. I know more than I've even said in here. But so it's interesting that this guy, I really hope Jake Mangum just tears it up because he's the type of guy that is a player like me. He's like the Jeff Fry type player that is totally overlooked and undervalued in today's game. So I hope he keeps tearing the cover off the ball. I hope he just keeps finding a way to get hits, big hits, do well. So I don't know what you guys think. I mean, I hope he kills it. I hope he kills it. You know what's crazy? What's crazy is that a major league team would have a guy who's running their organization, who everyone in the organization knows he wants to be the GM of the Mets, even while he's the GM of another team. Crazy. Great videos lately, by the way. Empty average, that one hurts. Yeah, and that's what I've coined the phrase, and I think my dad probably as well. It's like just like and I agree. There are guys who like I still think they're valuable, but there are guys, and again, let's say you're not a great defender, you don't hit for power, you can't run, but you can hit 300. Like, how valuable is that guy in your lineup? I think he's still valuable. He may not be as valuable as a typical 300 hitter is, but just like there's an empty average. Yes, I did. I texted you, Dusty. Dude. I said we're live at 103. But just like there's an empty average, Jared, there's also guys who are empty OPS hitters. So you look at their OPS. The pollen's still getting me. You look at their OPS, and they're OPSing over 800. Okay, great. They've hit 25 home runs. Great. They, on base percentage is fine. But then you look at the RBIs, and they've got 25 home runs and 40 RBIs or 45 RBIs at the end of the year, or 50. Those guys, and I know from, playing behind those guys, when the game is out of reach, man, they can hit home runs with the best of them. When they're down, when they're up 10-1, man, they can really hit. They can hit power for power. But when the game's on the line in a close game, they can't do anything. And so those guys right now are extremely overvalued in the big leagues because they think RBIs are a meaningless stat. And because of that, they don't look at the RBIs. But how do you win games? You score runs. You score more runs than the opposing team. So if RBIs don't matter, then runs don't matter. And no one will tell you that runs don't matter. But for some reason, RBIs, a lot of the analytics crowd looks at it and goes, that's just luck. Like it just they happen to get hits with runners on base. And again, I've told you guys countless times, like that is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Oxymoronic or just moronic, how long is this analytic garbage going to go? Is he a ball player or not? Yeah, and I think Martin Prado was looked at as kind of one of those guys, Jared. If you remember Martin Prado, he hit 300 every year. Wasn't like a spectacular defender. He was probably an average to above average defender. Didn't hit for a lot of power. Didn't run well. And so he would look like in today's game, he'd be looked at as like, he's not that good. But I mean, he was a great two-hole hitter. Man, he could move runners with the best of them. He could go opposite field. He would get the run in when it counts. Like there's way more value there, even in like an empty average hitter. Cougs, we have proof because we saw you text him. That's right. They saw me on stream text you, Dust. It seems like guys who don't hit for power who are draft prospects are always described as future projectable power. Yeah, I mean, and I don't really have as much of a problem with that. I just think the whole development side has got it completely backwards. It's like they want guys to hit home runs right away instead of, hey, how about this guy that has legit power? How about we train him and work on becoming an actual hitter? And then when you're a really good hitter, you can make slight adjustments that can help you drive the ball. Like, in a 2-0 count, all right, I'm going to try to drive this. Because you understand your swing. You understand where your barrel is. You understand how to make a swing adjustment. Canes, Jones is going to take a while. Raw's help. Yeah, and I think that was, a lot of people knew that, is that he was, all the tools are there, the bloodlines are there, but he was by no means a guy anyone thought would make it to the big leagues in like 2 years. I like him off the mound more than I did at the plate. Yeah, and I think that could be something that they do if the hitting never works out. How long is a while, though, Dusty? It's been 3 years, and he's batting .220. I mean, sometimes guys never figure it out, Canes. Yeah, boys, I didn't see the text. That's my bad. Thank you. Meanwhile, the kid from Cal Poly in the same draft is already in the MLB and crushed it in the minors. Well, he's a college... from Cal Poly, I'm assuming college. Like he's a college hitter, man. Like college hitters are going to be way more adjusted and make that jump way more smooth than a high school kid. Most high school kids do not get to the big leagues when they're 19 or 20 years old. I mean, it takes them 6 or 7 years typically. So if he gets, at 25, if he's still having issues, that's when you're concerned. Yep, remember him, good ball player. Yeah, 100%. And you know what, my dad told me when he would go watch Martin Prado in the minor leagues, he said nothing really jumped out about him. He always hit, but there was nothing really that jumped out about him. But my dad, when he would watch the minor league teams, if a guy hit the ball hard on the barrel, he would make like a dark circle next to the at bat. And he's like, every time I went to watch Martin Prado play, there was 2 or 3 dark circles in his at-bats. So he hit the ball in the barrel a lot. Right? And that's not something that these guys care about anymore. They're just looking at, all right, what's his max exit velocity? What's his average exit velocity? Is it going to play? What's his launch angle? Like, they could care less if you hit the ball in the barrel if it's not hitting the right way. Son of Coach Lee, great player. Most of those high school kids, if not all of them from that first round, are nowhere on the level of college guys. Yeah. We have a young kid that made the opening day roster, FSU kid, Smith. He looks legit. Yeah, he's, dude. I mean, surprising to me. I was a little bit worried it may be too quick of a jump, but again, that's kind of how baseball's going. It's like guys are, especially out of college, are getting to the big leagues so much faster now. Are you insinuating Frank kept a scorebook while at these games? Come on. Yes, every single game. Every single game in the minor leagues he did. He would file a report. He would score. He would keep the scorebook, everything. I mean, I remember going to school. My dad would drive us to school every morning, and the whole ride there, he's listening to the reports from the minor league games the night before, and I would just listen to the managers giving the reports on how everybody did and everything. Roman Anthony, who was ranked PG 30 and went late first round, he's one of the only ones who was crushing in the minors. Yeah, and he's like the best prospect in the minor leagues right now. He could be up sometime this year. If one guy gets hurt, it's him or Marcelo Meyer, depending on what position they play. Gosh. LSU in trouble versus Oklahoma? I don't know. It'll be a good series. Oh, God, I got the hiccups now. This is another clip I saw today that just kind of one of the beat writers for the Mets watches this video and goes, let me see what the quote actually was. Who said Juan Soto isn't a good defender? Now watch this video and you guys tell me if this looks like some kind of spectacular play.
The time. I mean, that's something a relief pitcher might do. That's it down the right field line, slicing away from Soto, and he makes the grab. Time. I mean, that's something a relief pitcher might do. That's it down the right field line, slicing away from Soto.
It's a terrible route. He underruns it, almost misses it because of it. And again, it's like that's the play you're going to use as Juan Soto's he's a way better defender than people think. Come on. Kyle, if you were a Power 4 head coach, what kind of pitchers would you recruit? I mean, I think you got to recruit stuff, right? I mean, there's no question you need guys with stuff, but you also got to recruit arms that are projectable and can throw strikes, right? So, like in today's game, and that's what everybody's trying to do now. Like the strike zone is so much smaller in college. Like you have to go after guys that can throw strikes. I'm getting to the point where I am not sure there is any money amount where I let Griff sign out of high school and skip college. I mean, I think there is a certain amount of money, Dust, but certainly I understand what you're saying. Like it's just, and I think it's different for pitchers versus hitters. Like hitters, it's much more difficult for pitchers, like stuff plays. But yeah, I mean, a lot of kids. Well, these high school kids you see signing for like 150 grand in like the 18th round. You're like, dude, that is not. Most of those guys never make it. They said Seth Hernandez has a chance to change that. They said the last high school right-hand pitcher that went 1-1 was some guy the Marlins drafted that really busted. Soto took a bad angle and got lucky. Yeah. That's a routine. Yeah, exactly. It's a routine. It's an average play, right? If you're positioned correctly, like every outfielder in the major leagues makes that play. I think he is solid. Thoughts on Max Clark Tigers? Let's look up the numbers. Let's just look up the numbers. All right, so far in his, 2 seasons of a career, in A-ball, he hit in 84 games, 384 plate appearances. He hit 270, 381, 392. And then in high A, he just hadn't played a lot of games. I mean, he's played 130 games in his career, which is like basically one full season. He's hit 269, 374 on base. He's got he walks a good amount. I'll give him that. He's got a very good approach. He's got a high walk rate. Strikes out for me too much for a guy who's not hitting for a lot of power. He's hit 11 home runs and almost 600 plate appearances. So he's hitting, that's not a lot. Stealing a good amount of bases. And I think he's a guy that as much as as he continues to develop, I think the power will show up more. But I think he's doing great for a 19-year-old. that has played in low A and high A. Like he's doing fine. He's not wowing it. He's not wowing you, but he's way below the age difference in his leagues right now. Like in high A, for example, last year he was three and a third years younger than everyone else or the average player. So for his age gap in the leagues he's doing well. What's up, Zach? Afternoon. Cap Kyle, what are you seeing more now? College coaches want a 5'11 guy who is 90-92 already at a ceiling, or still the 6'5 guy, 87 to 90 and can dream on him? I think we're seeing seeing a paradigm shift from 2010s. I think it's a little bit of both, right? Like you still have to recruit those very projectable, like skinny, tall pitchers that are in the high 80s, low 90s. Because you think, all right, we put some weight on him. He continues to develop. He's going to be in the low to mid 90s at some point. But you also do need some freshmen that are coming in right away that may, I don't think it's more about like the polished guy. Like he may be 6'3" and he's really polished, or maybe he's 5'11" and he's really polished. You just need you're recruiting more polished guys than maybe 15 years ago. Like you need guys that can come in right away and pitch. And again, the emphasis is going to be on stuff, but like the 6'5" guy that's 87 to 90 and he's 165, 70 pounds, like that guy can easily get to 200 pounds and he's probably going to be throwing 2 or 3 mile an hour harder at least when he does that. Elijah Green is another one that should have went to college. His minor league stats are so bad. Yeah, I mean, the vast majority of high school draft picks or high school hitters that are in the first round, like, never pan out. Or they get to the big leagues, but they're just they get a shot because they were a first rounder and they don't do anything. Dusty, will you have your son take an official visit to Miami? I think the body type is less important now. I agree. It's all about command stuff and mindset. Yeah. I mean, like you have to have guys that can pitch now. And that's really the emphasis. That's really the biggest change is like, you can't look at an arm and be like, well, in a year or 2 or 2 years, he may be really good. It's more about, well, is he going to be effective enough? Can we use this arm as a freshman? Can we use it? And really the guys that are not getting signed by big time programs now are the guys that have legit stuff, but they have no idea where it's going. Like we've seen so many of those guys just get cut or transfer out after 1 year because you can't bring them in a game. You look at Porter Bursama, who was at Georgia Southern last year and Georgia Tech this year. Stuff wise, I mean, it's legit stuff, but he has no idea where it's going. He doesn't pitch. Right, you just can't put him in the game because he's going to hit guys, he's going to walk guys. Like it's just there's no game where he can get in and pitch. And every inning you give him is taking away from a young guy or whoever that is needs to get innings. What is a good height and weight for a high school freshman? It depends, and like it really doesn't matter. White House, because some guys are really big as freshmen and then don't grow at all. And then they become just like kind of average sized as a junior or senior. And some guys are really small as high school freshmen and then they turn into a monster their junior year or senior year. So it's hard to say. I mean, everyone's different. There's no like, if you're 6 foot or taller as a freshman, that's great. Except for the Tigers, most of our first round high school bats get to the majors. And the question is, it's not even about do they get to the major league, Zach. It's about do they become a big league regular. Right? That's the difference. If you're a first round pick as a hitter, those first 5 picks you're looked at as a guy who should be like you're hoping to get a guy who's a big league all-star pretty regularly. From 6 to 15, you're hoping for an above average, or 6 to 20 or whatever you want to say. You're hoping for an above average regular. And then from 20 to, the end of the round, you're looking for just a big league regular. He may be, an average major league starter. So if you're a first round pick as a hitter and you don't turn into a big league regular, a guy who, plays for 6 or 7 years or whatever, maybe even longer, you're kind of looked at as a bust. So it's not just about getting to the big leagues, and that's what you see a lot of these analytics guys doing, and the guys they pick in the first round, no matter how bad they are, no matter how implausible it is that they're going to have any success in the big leagues, they still get a shot in the big leagues, and it's because so they can say, well, he played in the big leagues. We didn't make a mistake. He didn't pan out quite right, but he made it to the big leagues. I wanted to ask you about Jack Bauer. Did you see what they posted about him yesterday? I've known about him since the PG Nationals when they were laughing at his name. Yeah, Jack Bauer. That's a good one. I mean, yeah, I saw it yesterday. Lefty, 25 lefty up to 102. Slider looked really good from what I saw. I don't know what kind of command he has because again, I think a lefty arm that hard, I can't imagine he makes it to campus at Clemson. I feel like he's going to get a really good signing bonus. There's not many lefties that throw that hard, especially in high school. So I think he probably doesn't make it to campus. But it said 102 off his hand. Yeah, but so it's probably like, that's not 102 when it hits the plate. Yeah, but no gun is ever. You've never recorded the velo on based on what it is crossing home plate. The fastball will drop anywhere from like 7 to 9 to even 10 miles an hour when it crosses home plate. But it's definitely, like the old guns, it's probably like 98, 99 still. So it's still legit velocity if you're throwing 102 now. So I don't think there's any way he gets to campus unless there's some kind of injury, or he just has really bad command. But from the videos I saw yesterday, it looked like he had pretty solid command. So I don't know. We'll see. I actually saw. I think you might have tagged me in something, Canes, about the. Let me see. Actually, I'll show you right here. Let's see. Were you a long pants or a knickers guy? I was most of the time long pants, but like if I would change it up sometimes if I was struggling or something. But most of the time, long pants. Kyle, how valuable are pitchers who field their position at an elite level? Um, it's definitely a value add. I don't think it's like a major value add. One, because there's not a lot of guys bunting for hits anymore. So like that was something that I would pick up on right away. Like if I saw a guy pick off and he's like lobbing it to first, that means he's kind of yippy in PFPs. I'm going to bunt for hit on him. You knew the guys that were really good defenders off the mound, so that kind of kept you from trying to bunt for hit as much because you're like, this guy can really field his position. It's definitely valuable, right? Because a comebacker to turn double plays, you see it all the time now in the big leagues. Guys like routine ball right back to them, then they sail it into center field or they throw it straight in the ground. It's valuable, but it's not like it's not like something that's like, oh man, this is like he's way more valuable now because he's a really good defender. It is valuable, right? Don't get me wrong, but it's just not. It's not the craziest. It's not the biggest value add. Kyle, how valuable are the? Okay, you said that. Did y'all do a breakdown of the D1 baseball bracket projection that just came out? We're gonna look at that in a second. So here's a quote from a guy. I'm not gonna pull it up, but yeah, I know it's Zach. I saw. We'll talk about it in a second. I spoke with a young MLB pitcher a few years ago that was struggling. I was stressing movement and location. He informed me that he was instructed by his coaches to not be concerned with either and to throw four-seam fastballs as hard as he could over the plate for 2 innings. Like this is the thing that drives like people that have played the game insane. And a lot of the people, the young guys that are coming up now are kind of brainwashed into this because that's all they've known. But what happened to like throwing a fastball down and away? There's almost no hitter that's looking for that. No hitter. If you tell most hitters, 95% plus of hitters, probably even higher than that. I'm just being generous. If you say, what pitch are you looking for when you're hunting a pitch? If they say fastball, you will never hear one guy say, I'm really hunting for that outer third, bottom of the zone fastball. Nobody's looking for that. But for some reason in the major leagues now and in pro ball and player development, everyone goes, yeah, it's not a big deal. Just throw it as hard as you can right over the plate. Like, are you kidding me? Like, major league hitters feast on fastballs in the middle of the plate. It'll blow your mind, some of the stuff you hear that's going on. It's like, yeah, hey, don't worry about like changing speeds or like movement on your pitches. It's just ridiculous. I'm trying to find this reply. Maybe it's further down than I thought it was. Okay. So here's a Jeff Fry tweet. Okay. Let me zoom in a little bit here. All right, you nerds, Jeff, this is Jeff Fry, so you know. You nerds love to ignore the facts when they don't fit your narrative. StatCast system. MLB uses a system of 12 cameras around each ballpark to track pitches and batted balls, forming the basis of the StatCast platform. TrackMan radar. StatCast utilizes track. What level is that at, Kyle? What do you mean? That was at the major league level they were talking about. StatCast utilizes TrackMan radar systems to measure pitch velocity. Measurement point. Instead of measuring velocity at a certain distance from home plate, like the old PitchFX system, StatCast measures the maximum velocity of the pitch as it leaves the pitcher's hand. Why the change? The new system measures velocity at the release point, which is closer to the pitcher's actual release point, resulting in potentially higher velocity readings. Okay. So everyone who tells you that the guns aren't juiced, and that the velocity readings are actually 100% the same as they were 30, 40 years ago, are complete liars. Because it says it right here. And this was in response to this guy going, next they're going to tell you how MLB is juicing up velo and he's not actually throwing 102. Yeah, that's what we're saying. He's not throwing 102 like Nolan Ryan or Randy Johnson. Like, he's not throwing it like that. He's throwing it in the StatCast era, which is not the same as Randy Johnson hitting 102 or whatever. Nolan Ryan and you know, all the other guys, Bob Gibson, who threw really hard. Like, it's not the same. You know, like Aroldis Chapman, he's still throwing 100 in any era, right? He's throwing 105. So there's still guys that are doing that. But it's overblown, right? If the difference is 2 miles an hour, like, because the biggest argument right now I hear, and what they don't include is the fact that hitters are just worse now, right? That's objectively true. What they say is, well, like, velocity's never been higher, and that's why hitting's gone downhill. It's like, no, the velocity is the same. They're just tracking it at a much more exact point as soon as it leaves the hand, so it's reading higher than it did 20 years ago. What year do we draw the line in the sand? I need to know how hard my fastball actually was. Well, let's do a deep dive. Let's see what we can find here. All right, let's see. When did StatCast and track let's see. So they are juicing radar guns. Yes. Right. It's just that's what it is. All right. Some stupid article. Let me see if I can get to the point. Everyone freaking juicing the bats, the balls, the guns, the weights. Well, yeah, I mean that video yesterday with Justin Verlander, he's like they juice the balls, right? And that's why everything has spawned out of this. According to this article, 2015 was the first year that it was in MLB ballparks. And I don't know if that was the most advanced system, but that's when TrackMan went into the major league ballparks. I don't know about the minor leagues. Let me see if I can find another article. All right, let's see here. Okay, here we go. My 90-94 needs to be viewed as 93-97. I was released 2 years too early. For the 2017 season, the TrackMan component of StatCast replaced the previous PitchFX system for official measurements of pitch speed, as official pitch speed readings are now based on maximum velocity, parentheses, typically from the release of the pitch, rather than the speed measured 55 feet from home plate. There have been notable discrepancies in pitch speed reports between those reported in 2016 and 2017, with some pitches registering higher speeds than with the previous system. That's on Wikipedia. So before TrackMan, and again, that was still with the PitchFX system. Before PitchFX was involved, which was PitchFX was instituted in 2006. So that was 55 feet from home plate. Before PitchFX, it wasn't even as accurate as that. I mean, it has all the sources down here, Dust, but it basically says this. I mean, this is the paragraph. For the 2017 season, the TrackMan component of StatCast replaced the previous PitchFX system for official measurements of pitch speed, as official pitch speed readings are now based on maximum velocity, typically from the release of the pitch, rather than the speed measured 55 feet from home plate. And then it says, There have been notable discrepancies in pitch speed reports between those reported in 2016 and 2017, with pitches registering higher speeds than with the previous system. Let's look here. Are there ballparks that have both systems? Not anymore. I don't think. Jonathan, 55 feet from home plate is pretty much the same as that release. I mean, it depends on the arm, right? But and that's why it does say like there's serious discrepancies between pitch speeds in the 2016 and 2017 season. Essentially, what it's saying is that the same guy in 2016 was throwing, let's say, he peaked at 95, and in 2017 he peaked at 97. So it's not like a mass. It's not like they're throwing 5 mile an hour harder, but 2 mile an hour difference. Because what everybody's saying, and like this is what they're saying. They're like ever since 2017, the average velocity is higher in the major leagues, 2 miles an hour harder to be exact. Right, it's like 94 now. But is that because guys are actually throwing harder, or just the tracking system is much more accurate? FYI, the Red Sox just signed Christian Campbell to an 8-year extension. Good for him, man. We were just talking about it. Good for him, dude. See if I can find it. Rookie second baseman Christian Campbell and the Boston Red Sox are in agreement on an 8-year, $60 million contract extension that includes 2 club options, sources tell ESPN. Campbell, 22, is expected to be a franchise cornerstone and is now locked up through 2034. Good for him, man. And we were just talking about it, like, people get on these guys for signing like team-friendly deals, and that's a very team-friendly deal, right? 8 years, $60 million. You're making less than $10 million a year on average, with 2 club options afterwards. So it could eventually be a 10-year deal. But like, that guy has 4 games in the big leagues, right? And you're going to throw $60 million in front of him, and people are going to be like, "Why would he accept that deal? That's ridiculous." I'm going to go through the comments. Let's see. So over 10 years, if both club options are exercised, he basically makes $100 million over 10 years. Yeah, this is a comment here. 5 games in and he got $60 million. Hopefully it works out, but I feel like he should have gambled on himself to make more. $60 million. He should have made more. He should have gambled on himself. Like I told you guys, I've been in clubhouses with guys that turned down like $40 million extensions, and that was in like 2016, 2017. And when I was teammates with them, they turned that down in like 2013 or 2014. And like those guys would straight up tell you, like, I don't know why I didn't do it. My agent told me it wasn't worth it. I was losing money doing it. Merrill just signed for 135 mil, and we got Campbell for 60 mil. What a life! Yeah, well, Merrill was one of the best young players in the entire big leagues last year, right? He has a full year under his belt, right? If Campbell had turned this down and then ended up having a great year this year, he probably would have got something similar. But you can't take a chance, because what if he just lays an egg, and all of a sudden they're like, yeah, we're gonna hold up on the extension talks. But a great move by the Red Sox, man. A great move by the Red Sox. Congrats to Christian Campbell. Another Georgia Tech Yellow Jacket making big money in the big leagues. And again, it's 8 years. So if If the club exercises the option, he still makes good money. But at 30 years old, if they don't, he can go somewhere else. And now he doesn't have to worry about making money, right? And that's a risk as well. Some guys, when they don't have to worry about that, they're like, I'm gonna go easy now. But some guys are like, now they're just that now they can play free, man. They're not worried about staying up there or making money. They're not working about grinding. They're not worrying about grinding for 3 years to get to arbitration to finally make some money. Congrats to Jackson Merrill and Christian Campbell. 100%. Tigers did that with Colt Keith, signed him to a 6-year, but can max out to 82 million over 9. Yeah, like I don't know why some teams don't do it more, because like it's so hard to turn that money down. Like how do you turn that money down? Dusty, I'm looking for that text you sent us last night. Let me see. If not, I'll just read this out. I'm going to read this out. This is basically another Jeff Fry tweet. I want you guys to give me your opinion on this. Opening day randomly started in Japan 2.5 weeks ago with little marketing, right? I didn't even know that was happening. We have 2 big league teams playing in minor league stadiums. 3 position players have already pitched because it's been a blowout. One guy back-to-back nights. MLB TV, which auto renews, doesn't work on opening day, and we are discussing torpedo bats. That's the state of Major League Baseball. Can we make a rule that position players can't throw? Can we just make that a rule? I mean, it's ridiculous. It's a joke. It's a joke. I mean, Rob Manfred, I mean, my God, has he been nothing but a disaster for Major League Baseball? And can you imagine if they go with this, the golden hitter thing he was talking about a few months back? Like, oh, you know, 1 at bat a game, you can let any hitter hit in a certain situation. Like, are you kidding me? I think this is the tweet maybe he was referencing. Rob Manfred knows that our national pastime is in the toilet. He is personally responsible with all of his ridiculous rule changes in 2 current MLB teams playing in minor league baseball parks and accumulating MLB statistics. The people working in the commissioner's office do not love the game like we do. The torpedo bat phenomenon is the biggest news in the game. The MLBPA has to regain some control before the game is unrecognizable. Congrats to really real makes the sport look like a cartoon throwing 50-mile-an-hour rainbows. Yeah, it's a joke, man. College baseball is great in MLB, 100%, 100%. Like, and again, like, you know, one of my former teammates, Brett Phillips, like he with Tampa Bay, like he would. They're down by like 10 runs. And he's in the bullpen, like warming up, like it's a joke. And he's in there, and then he runs in. It's like this whole act. It's like you're watching a Savannah Bananas game, and he's being like super serious and like practicing his lob. And I'm just like, dude, 10 years ago, everyone on your team would have been like, what the hell are you doing? We're getting killed. This isn't a joke. Right? But that's what baseball is now. That's what it is. That is a bit of mockery, like bringing in a D lineman to play quarterback. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. Only watching MLB this year because my Tigers look like contenders. True. And that horrible idea of golden whatever will lose many fans. Yeah, I just don't get it. Zach, agree about college baseball. I agree 100%. I barely watch Major League Baseball anymore. I watch some of the games with like guys that I played with and everything. Um, but I don't really pay attention to it. It's tough to watch for me, man. It's really tough to watch. Every game, most of the games are so boring. It's like, I mean, you're seeing 15 strikeouts. Uh, it's just like there's no the thing that I love about baseball is like the strategy involved that like doesn't really get seen by the fans and stuff like that. That's what I love about the game, and I love seeing that work in a game. And that's why in the college game you see that so much more. In Major League Baseball, it's basically what Major League Baseball is they run a simulation. Okay, who's the best lineup against the starting pitcher, and then they put those guys in the lineup, and they do that over a full season. And they basically just run the simulation before the season. They go, all right, what's our best lineup for the year? What's going to give us the most wins according to the models? And then they just do it. That's boring as hell, and it's not the best way to do it. Heck, I prefer JUCO over MLB. High school baseball is more interesting. Take the money. Yeah, he did, man. He took it. Good. Congrats to Campbell, man. Really, really big. The comparison to Savannah Bananas is scary, very scary. Yeah, I mean, that's what it's turning into, man. Like, we're still far from that, but it's like creeping in. Right? You're seeing, like, again, I can imagine my dad as the GM if they brought in a position player to pitch, and he was acting like that. I think my dad would have walked down to the clubhouse and basically went right to his locker and said, if you ever do that again, you're gone. Or he might have just said, you're gone. Because that's ridiculous. Right? But the other thing is this, there's not a lot of managers out there left that like call out their players. Right? Like the Bobby Cox benching Andrew Jones for jogging in the outfield. Right? There's not a lot of guys that do that anymore because the players are a lot of the players now are very prima donna. Like look what's happened to the Yankees. Like this 100-year-old rule, they just decided, we can't do the rule anymore because the players don't like it. They don't want to play in New York. They don't want to play for the Yankees. Right? Everything's gotten so soft. That the game's just degrading at a rapid pace. It's like a snowball going downhill. Agreed about the games being boring. Oh, they're incredibly boring. There's nothing going on. There's no strategy. You don't see hit and runs. You don't see big plays, like a big guy getting a bunt down in the 8th inning to move guys into second and third and get your team a chance to score 2 runs. It's literally just go up there and try to hit a home run. That's the strategy. That is literally the strategy on every major league team for the most part. Not all of them, but generally speaking, across the game, that's the strategy being implemented. It's like, all right, this is what the guy throws. Let's try to get some bombs today. And with the torpedo bat, it's like it's only going to get worse because I've heard from multiple guys that like every team is ordering these things right now, and they probably already have them. And it's just like, what if we start seeing everyone hitting like 60 home runs again? Well, not to mention all these guys are on Adderall, or a large percentage of them are on Adderall. And no one cares about that, I guess. No one cares about guys basically addicting themselves to amphetamines for a decent-sized portion of their life in order to get an edge. And the bad thing about Adderall is there's no test for it. Like you can game the system. And I know that because I played with a guy who told me that. He told me he just lied in the test because he saw everyone else getting on it and gaining an advantage. And he was like, I'm just going to get it. I can't let people have an advantage over me. Right. And he was like, yeah, I said, I can't, I've had trouble focusing my whole life. It's hard for me to read. I can't stay focused. And he got a, TUE for Adderall. 100% home run or strikeout. Yeah, it's so boring to watch, man. I mean, it's so boring. Clean shaven to play big league ball. I'll shave whatever you tell me. Yeah, I mean, again, it's just like the most historic franchise in one of the most historic sports franchises in the world basically just caved to like the players. Even though all these amazing players that have come before you, they were willing to do it. Right? Derek Jeter was willing to do it. Alex Rodriguez was willing to do it. Mariano Rivera was willing to do it. Roger Clemens was willing to do it. Bernie Williams was willing to do it. Jorge Posada was willing to do it. But players nowadays, they're too good. They're too good to do it. We had to play with our socks up. Only big leaguers could wear their pants down. What organization were you in, Cougs? I mean, when I was drafted by the Braves, we had I think we had to wear our pants up. If you don't want to follow the rules, you don't want to be a Yankee. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, Cougs, I had similar rules with the Braves until I was traded. You had to wear your pants up. I think until AAA, you had to wear your pants up. So I would have probably been able to wear them down the next year, but I got traded in the offseason and while I was in the Arizona Fall League. If you don't want to, Cardinals. Oh, okay. Yeah. What years were you with the Cardinals? If you played with Alan Craig. You didn't play with James Ramsey, did you? Did you play with James while he was with the Cardinals? Hey, Kyle, no disrespect from my part, but what is the feeling of being traded? No, that's fine. Well, I kind of knew it was coming. One, because, my dad was the GM of the Braves and he had gotten fired after the season. So I knew, like, listen, I think a lot of people in the organization were like, oh, Kyle's going to be, and I was upset, right? I didn't think he deserved to be fired. He was the winningest GM over his 7-year period as GM in the major leagues. His team had the most wins in the regular season of any team in the major leagues. His tenure as GM, those 7 years. So I thought it was a bit ridiculous. They had underperformed in the playoffs, no doubt. But I thought it was ridiculous that he would get fired, but anyway, I was a professional. My dad had been fired from the Orioles before that. I had so I knew part of the baseball life is that you get fired at some point. So they called me after he was fired because I was going to the Arizona Fall League and I was going to go to instructional league for a week to kind of get amped up and playing some games and get ready. And they were like, hey, Kyle, you don't have to come to instructional league. We know it's, the situation you're in stuff. And I'm like, schedule the flight. Like, I don't care. I'm a professional. I got to do this. I want to get prepared for the fall league. Now, they kind of screwed me over. I was supposed to be playing every day in the fall league. I get there and they're like, you're on the taxi squad, so you're going to play 2 days a week, so that sucked. And I think that was on purpose because they fired my dad. If I go to the fall league and ball out, they're not going to be able to trade me because it's going to look ridiculous unless they get like a really good trade in return. So they put me on the taxi squad to prevent me from having any kind of success. Play 2 games a week, you're not going to do well. And you're just not going to play enough to even prove, make a point. And so I kind of knew I was probably going to get traded. I got traded right at the very end. Our team made it to the championship game in the fall league. So that was my first game in a Brewers uniform. And my dad, it was really funny. I got traded, ended up getting to AAA that next year. And then what ultimately was like the fulcrum of my career was David Stearns was hired as the GM that next offseason. And my dad was very prophetic. He was like, he's an analytics guy. He does not know the game, does not know baseball. This is either going to be really good for you because like analytically there's going to be things he likes about you, or it's going to be really bad. There's no in between. And it ultimately was really bad. And so getting traded was fine. Getting traded is always good because the team that trades for you, that GM, he wants to look good. And so if you get to the big leagues, he looks good. Well, the worst possible scenario happened. The GM that traded for me was pushed out. And then David Stearns took over. And so I was basically nobody's guy. I have been traded under the previous administration. And so I wasn't anybody's guy. I wasn't the new guy, the new GM's guy. And that hurt me for sure. 2006 with Craig, we had a pretty good squad. We had Craig, Jason Mott, Adam Ottavino, Luke Gregerson, a few more that made the big leagues. Yeah, that's solid team. That was back in the Cardinal way. Which is funny because when my dad was fired in the in the press conference after his firing, a couple of the higher ups of the Braves were talking about we need to get back to the Braves way, and my dad was like, they don't even know what the Braves way is, like they thought it was like the Cardinals way, like the Cardinal way, and my dad's like, the Braves way is nothing like the Cardinal way. The Braves way is like the way you're supposed to wear the uniform, our bunt defenses, our signs, our defensive plays, everything is the exact same the whole way up the ladder, so that when a guy makes his big league debut, he doesn't have to worry about that. He knows the signs, he knows the plays, he knows everything. That the Braves way was to streamline the transition to the big leagues. All right, Zach, I see you. We're going to it. We'll go over the bracket, and then I gotta skedaddle. All right, where's the field of 64? I already saw some of this, and I'm going to give you... All right. Is it not loading? Okay, here we go. That's like the Patriots getting rid of Brady and Bill. They're the Patriot way. You're right. And it was sad too because like the Braves had like nobody in the upper minors as far as outfielders. So if I did relatively the same as I did with the Brewers, I would have definitely gotten a shot with the Braves, no matter if my dad was a GM or not, just because we didn't have anybody. We didn't have any outfielders at the upper level, and really none behind me either, except for like Ronald Acuna, who was, I think at that time was like in the Dominican Summer League. Okay. Now let's zoom in a little bit, make this a little bit easier to see. All right, so Knoxville, no surprise here. Virginia Tech, that's going to be spicy if that happens. I mean, these are never right? These are never right, but it's fun to watch. Irvine at the 16th seed, okay, you can see that. I think that's a pretty. It's pretty. I mean, that's not a. It's not a tough regional for the 16th seed, to be honest. Arkansas, Kansas, Iowa, Bowling Green, Oxford, Ole Miss, Southern Miss, NC State, Tennessee Tech. Oh my God! Can you imagine this bloodbath of a regional? That'd be tough. Georgia, Louisville, Hawaii, Florida A&M. Give me a break. Really? That's what they're going to give Georgia? Oregon State, Oregon, Duke, Gonzaga. This will be a nasty one. I don't think Oregon State would win this. I think Oregon State is really overrated. That doesn't mean they're not good. I just don't think they're a top 16 seed in the country right now. They haven't played anybody, and the only good teams they've played, they've lost to. So I don't get it. I don't think Oregon State should be a host, especially with them not playing in a conference. Like to be a host, you're not playing in a conference like the ACC or the SEC, or even Big 12 or Big 10. Like, come on, you better dominate to be a host in a regional. Clemson, Auburn, Southern Cal, Fordham. Okay. Arizona State, Cal Poly, Virginia, Nevada. I don't think Virginia ends up being a 3 seed. I think they've figured it out. I think Virginia ends up either being a host or a 2 seed. There's no way they're a 3 seed. Florida State, Troy, South Florida, Fairfield. Man, that's Georgia. Those teams for a 3 seed. I don't think Hawaii will travel well to Georgia. Florida A&M, not very good. Louisville's solid, but I think this is a pretty easy regional for a 3 seed, to be honest. Coastal Carolina, Wake Forest, East Carolina, High Point. Oh my goodness. This may be the hardest regional so far. This may be the hardest regional so far. UCLA, Vandy. UCLA is the 6th seed? Aren't they ranked like 14th or something? All right, this isn't way overseeded, but Vandy, Stanford, Holy Cross, that'll be a tough regional. Alabama, Georgia Tech, East Tennessee State, and Stetson. Well, you got 2 of the best offenses in the country at Alabama. That's not a bad regional, to be honest. Even though Alabama's played really well, don't get me wrong, but I think this is a solid regional. Georgia, the thing is, like, Georgia Tech always goes to like a top 2 or 3 seed, except for last year at UGA. So if you're Georgia Tech and you're not a host, this ain't a bad regional. I do think Georgia Tech have a very good chance of being a host, though, if they play like they've played so far. Like, I don't know how, if they finish at 18 and 12 in the ACC, or even 17 and 13, they're probably a host. Texas, TCU, UTR, GV, Rio Grande Valley. Yeah, UCLA is number 14, but they're the 6th seed. Okay, I don't know how that works. I think this is a pretty decent regional, but Texas is going to be heavily favored to win that. Again, none of these are going to happen. North Carolina, West Virginia, Kentucky, Columbia. That'll be a tough one. That's a really good regional. LSU, Dallas Baptist, Baylor, Binghamton. Oof. That'll be tough. Kansas State, Oklahoma, Southern Illinois, Wright State. Okay. I think these are pretty solid. I don't really like looking at these in the middle of the year, Zach, because like some teams are going to heavy fall off here soon. So it just doesn't make sense to me. I don't like looking at them this early, but because they're never right. They never project. They literally never project Georgia Tech correctly on where they end up. All right, boys. That's going to be it for me today, guys. What do you think of the mid-season All-American list? I got to go. We'll talk about it tomorrow, okay? All right? We'll talk about it tomorrow. Maryland is eliminated from playoff contention. We just lost a midweek game to UMBC. That's tough. All right, guys.